And we're back with WAAAGH Tactics. We're here to talk about how to use orc strats, or in regard to all strats, because we're going to talk about general 40k strats and orc strats themselves. We're going to break them down, give a couple examples, experiences, and ways that you want to integrate them into your game. Some of you might disagree. Some of you might be getting stuck in. So let's maximize some orc strats, lads. Let's go. Let's go. And before we get in, shout out to Wicked Joe for the 5 gifted memberships. Whoa. All right, boys. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Joe. You about to be a death dread. So starting first with Unbridled Carnage.
It's everyone's favorite. All right, so the way this one works is in the fight phase, of course, one Orks unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time an Orks model in your unit makes a melee attack, an unmodified hit roll 5 scores a critical hit.
Now, if you're new to the game, or if you're coming back to the edition because you didn't play this edition yet, you're coming back to 40k, welcome. But critical hits is something that allows you to gain whatever your army ability or data sheet ability is, that your ability has, that now normally would go on unmodified 6s, is now going off on 5s. That's why it's called a critical hit. So orcs already have sustained 6 pluses when they hit naturally for their army-wide rule currently with the tribe. This now makes it so a 5+. So if you're new to this edition or new to 40k, that's all critical means. It just means, hey, whatever ability you have that normally goes off on an unmodified 6 now goes to a 5+. The next thing is the more the better. Optimize the strat by using high volumes attack, far less reliable with high value attacks, right? So some people might say, my Maz is getting stuck in, I'm gonna get them dev wounds. And then they use this strat and they forget all about their Beastnagga boys, their Mazrog, their Beastnagga boys, their knobs, and they're so focused on their Mazrog when really he's just an anvil. There are times where maybe you might want to use this, but all in all, save it in your back pocket for those high volume of attacks. That way you can get the most 5s that you possibly can. But my favorite combo, the best combo, is when you take this into consideration, this strat, and you stack it with Makari's Banner, right? Makari's Banner gives lethal hits on 6+ innately in a 12-inch aura during the wall. If you use this strat, because critical 5s now becomes, you guys are distracting me with your chats, now becomes 5+, meaning the hit rolls will automatically wound enemies on 5+ instead of just 6+. This is huge when you're running Beastnagga boys. Beastnagga boys have innate rerolls against vehicles and monsters. That means you can fish for 5s and 6s, even though you know you're going to be wounding on 5s and 6s anyways, right? So when you hit, go ahead and pick up everything that's not a 5 or 6 and just go ahead and reroll that. Promise it'll be worth it. Very good opportunity to stack that ability. But talk about stacking abilities, you cannot stack this ability with Orks is never beaten. And we'll talk about that.
Right. Now, one thing about Unbridled Carnage. Oh, and we have $5 super chat from Aaron.
All right, read it.
Go get the bandana. I'm freaking out. One thing, though, about the Unbridled Carnage, the 5s are going to get you, because the Makari's aura is during the wall, you're going to get a lethal hit and a sustained hit. So just be careful that you don't make your sustained hits also, they don't convert to lethals. So for every die that you roll, you're going to separate the lethals that automatically wound. And then for each of those, you're going to roll another dice for the wound roll stage. So just be careful with that. Some experienced player might catch you on that.
Yeah, thanks for that. And honestly, I've made that a mistake sometimes just going quickly that I don't even add the sustains when I first started doing this combination. I literally just do the lethals. And then the guy's like, whoa, hey, you have more attacks, being nice to me, right? But talking about Orks is never beaten. Listen carefully.
Right. In the fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, one Ork unit from your army that was selected as a target of these attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time a model on your unit is destroyed, if that model has not fought this phase, do not remove it from play. The destroyed model can fight after the attacking model's unit has finished its attacks. Then it is removed from play.
Keep in mind, right? I see a lot of people do this wrong, or, accidentally not realizing the first sentence in this when it says when says must be declared in response to when the enemy is targeting you. It doesn't say after you're destroyed. It doesn't say at the end of the fight phase. It says when you are targeted. People forget that in order of operations, the person selecting the target, let's say the offensive player, declares his strats before you declare your strats, right? But in response, as the person who's being targeted, after he declares all strats and abilities that she's going to pop off, you are going to respond with your strat at that time. You don't get to see his result of his attack before you do that, okay? So I know it's better for your advantage, but do not play it that way. It is pretty much cheating, even though I know you're not doing it on purpose, right? Second note is this requires proper CP management. So many people will dump strats into Art as Nails, maybe just an advanced reroll, maybe trying to save Maz because he got hit with the last cannon and he didn't pass the 4+. All of a sudden, the enemy's going, and now you don't have 2 CP, and it's your turn, and now you're not fighting in death. They shot some of your units off table, and they've charged somebody else, and now you're not controlling your rate of attrition. You didn't save the CP. It definitely cost you the game against Space Marines, right? But speaking of Space Marines, this strat is also a strat that can swing most games in your favor against all other combat armies. I'm speaking directly about World Eaters. They really, really hate this strat. If you're going into a World Eaters player, if you do not have this strat when it's his turn, you messed up. It is your fault if you lose that game. I hate to say it like that, but it's a big factor. If you don't fight in death against World Eaters, especially with that Master of Execution that's fighting in death, you're asking to lose that game when you have the tools to actually win it, right? And mind you, this strat is activated model by model. Therefore, you cannot respond with strats activated by unit. For example, Armor of Contempt, Unbridled Carnage. It's called Arcane Genetic Alchemy for the Custodians reduced damage, right? Those strats are worded as select this unit, when this unit selected, da-da-da. When you read this strat, it tells you that it's model by model that is fighting. Therefore, you cannot activate it. So you can't stack Orcs has never beaten and Unbridled Carnage and punch your enemy out of this world. But in response, when your models are actually dying, the Custodian player cannot now reduce the damage of those models that are dead. Okay, the Space Marine player cannot reduce the armor of the AP with Armor of Contempt for the models that are now dying if he just charged your knobs. Okay, so keep that in mind. It's very powerful because you know going into Custodian matchup, they're going to kill you. They're going to fight first. Just be ready to use that strat.
Yeah, this strat is great. Every combat army is going to find this annoying just because they have to deal with it, especially Custodians that already rely heavily on fight first. This is kind of a workaround to still get your hits in. And like Eddie hit it on the head, CP management. That means having discipline with your CP. Even if a roll doesn't go your way and you want to save it, it's very tempting. But this is 2 CP, and you need to know how much CP you have in the game and how much you want to spend each turn.
Exactly, guys.
Keep that in mind.
It's a big deal because so many people I hear they're having a long time, and then I ask them, they're having a hard time against Space Marines or any kind of combat army, and then I ask, one of the first questions I ask is, did you fight in death? Did you manage your CP? Oh, no, I had 1 CP on their turn. Well, there you go, buddy. Next is Kareen.
All right. Any phase just after an Orcs vehicle unit from your army with the Deadly Demise ability is destroyed, that destroyed Orcs vehicle unit, if you roll a 6 for its Deadly Demise ability, you can use this stratagem on that unit even though it's just destroyed. And it allows you to make a normal or fallback move before its Deadly Demise ability is resolved and before any embarked units perform emergency disembarkation. When making this move, your unit can move over enemy units, excluding monsters and vehicles.
Let's go. We get flying trucks, boys. So remember, it says make a normal move. That means you're able to use the full movement of your truck to just get right out of there. Full movement of your battle wagon. Full movement of your Gorkanaut/Morkanaut. And then mind you, you can move over enemy units, excluding vehicles and monsters. So that means your truck could just go right over them gits, right? But you must roll a natural 6. It has to be a 6, not just when you blow up, but it is whenever you die. So it's not just when the enemy kills you, it's when you die. Mind you, you want to use this to constantly move forward, boys. Get up in staging. And remember, you still have to roll your disembarkations. You still have to worry about your enemy shooting you there. So stage correctly. Don't get shot just because you now did that, just because you just not careened.
Right, and this one isn't a reliable strat to plan around.
No,
because you have to roll a 6.
No.
So, but just be aware if you do find yourself in that situation, you got this in your pocket, and that's 10 extra inches of movement you can get.
Or more. So then we have Art as Nails.
All right. In your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its target, 1 Orcs unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks until the end of the phase. Each time an attack targets your unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll. You can now select a vehicle or Gretchen unit for the strat.
Cannot select a vehicle or a Gretchen, but hey, you can select a monster. Beast Boss on Squigosaur, Gargantuan Squigoth. Keep those in mind. People sometimes forget that the Gargantuan Squigoth is not a vehicle. Here, proper value. Use this when you're going to be wounded on 6s, right? A lot of the time I see people constantly popping this just to go from 3s to 4s, right? For maybe a high model count, that could be okay because you're trying to survive high volume of attacks. But for your Mazrog, when he's getting hit with the last cannon, come on, man. Don't be so sensitive.
Right.
The next is soaking small alarms fire on a single unit. Let's say you know your Mandos are out in the open. You know they're going to shoot at them. You already have stealth. You can pop the 5-up invuln. You can now stack Artist Nails on that and just soak up the entire enemy small alarms fire to this one unit. That way, if they do pop your truck, if they do pop your wagon, they do not have the volume of small arms fire anymore to deal with that, right? They might not be in range of that. They might just be, I'm going to have to put all of this into the Mandos, not going to get a return. All of a sudden, your Mandos survive, and then you're playing the mission with those Mandos. So be smart. If small arms fire is coming, somebody's already wounding you at 5s, go to 6s. Slightly overused. Be patient. Lack of CP later, right? What I mean by that is a lot of Orc players automatically are just like Artist Nails when their favorite model is targeted. Stop it. Have some confidence in your units and yourselves. Understand it's still a dice game. And just because someone's has a decent gun doesn't mean they're going to roll you. They can still roll 1s. All these things are factors. What really matters is having CP later in game. That way you can execute on your WAAAGH turn. Okay? Because during the WAAAGH is when you really need to deliver your game plan. And that could be about fighting and death. That could be about unbridled carnage. That can be about here we go. That can be about a reroll charge. That can be about so many things other than I'm just trying to survive. Orcs are a trash army as a whole, as in our models are not meant to survive contact, right? So don't waste your future investment on Artist Nails when you must accept as an Orc player that things will die and you must let them die, okay? That doesn't mean it's not amazing. I'm just saying, don't be popping it when your Maz is getting targeted by Caladius Grav Tank who's already wounding him on 3s and has Twin Linked, okay? Ask enemies if they have Twin Linked or any rerolls prior to declaring. So there's plenty of times where, when I first got into the edition and I said, hey, what's that profile on that? And the person's like, oh, this is strength 4. This is strength 5. And I'm like, okay, Artist Nails. And they're like, okay. And they start re-rolling. I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, oh, I have Twin Linked, right? The person just didn't tell me. I'm not saying they were trying to jip me. It's just they might forget off the pass of their mind thinking you just knew it. A lot of people just play their armies mechanically. It's really up to you as the player to ask them, hey, what are the actual abilities of your arm, that thing? Do you have any built-in wound re-rolls here? Because if they do, I do. At that point, I pretty much dismiss using Artist Nails most of the time, unless I'm being wounded on 6s. And last but not least, sometimes it's best to just ride the dice. All right? Sometimes just let it go, guys, because the WAAAGH turn is very important. And even though Artist Nails is a beautiful strat in a lot of different scenarios, other strats are even more important during the WAAAGH turn. And we have a 5 gifted membership from ECOP. Oh, let's go, boys. I don't want to, get too distracted, but here we go. And literally, here we go.
Here we go. All right, start of the movement phase. 1 Orcs infantry unit from your army until the end of the turn. Add 2 to advance and charge rolls made for your unit. And then here's a little caveat to this. For embarked units within a transport, do not count as being on the battlefield for any rules purposes. This means that unless explicitly stated otherwise, embarked units cannot do anything like shooting, fighting, using abilities. Similarly, you cannot select an embarked unit as a target of any rules, including stratagems.
Now, that's very important because a lot of the time we hear people wanting to use Here We Go, and they didn't think of ahead of time that I had to disembark prior to my WAAAGH turn to activate Here We Go. So when you have your knobs and you stage them in the middle of the table, understand that sometimes you just might have disembark, check your angles of fire, make sure you're not getting shot, check the angle so you're nice and fair. But remember, if you're already standing in the middle of the table, stage behind the building, you have follow me, lads, and then you pop Here We Go during your WAAAGH turn, your infantry is essentially moving 18 inches, right? In most cases, all right? And you can just turn. Let's see, where am I going? Sorry, I'm at 13 inches. You can look at each objective on the left and the right side of the table and understand that you have a good chance of reaching either one of those, and you're definitely nailing anybody that's holding the middle objective. You're also mitigating the fact that enemy might have movement shenanigans. You might be hit with a Night Spinner. Having these abilities to understand, not directly the Night Spinner, but having abilities like a Night Spinner ability is something that you can mitigate that as an orc player by having +2 to advance, +2 to charge. Okay, so our movement and our WAAAGH is huge, guys. You failing those 2 inches, 3 inches to understand how important that is could cost you the game. You could end up getting less knobs into combat. You could end up just failing the charge completely. So a lot of the time we want to disembark. I personally will disembark knobs or maybe a beast snagaboy unit. Be prepared for the WAAAGH turn to just blast somebody who decides to walk up into the middle, right? So that's very important, but you cannot fail on the WAAAGH, and Here We Go is a great way to assure that. But you can't use it when you're not on the table, when you're not in the when you're in the vehicle. So I just want to make sure you guys understand that because it's very important for Here We Go. Now we're going to talk about general strats, but before we do, Zach Shuck.
Oh, with a $5 super chat. I usually only use Art as Nails is when I need to keep a primary objective or to save a unit that has given me both of my secondary objectives.
Yeah, pretty much just for a score. Any strat is justified when you're trying to score.
Yes.
So here we have Overwatch.
All right, now Overwatch, one of the universal stratagems that any army can use. It's in your opponent's movement or charge phase, and this changed drastically from the last edition to this one. Just after an enemy unit is set up, or when an enemy unit starts or ends a normal, advance, fallback, or charge move, one unit from your army that is within 24 of that enemy would be eligible to shoot as if it was your shooting phase. If that enemy is visible to your unit can shoot that enemy as same thing.
Yeah.
Then you cannot target Titanic units with the stratagem.
No Sapa. So what's happening here, guys, is when it says normal movement, that counts for a couple things. That counts for disembarking, and that counts for coming in from reinforcements. So a lot of people read this strat and don't realize that they're talking about those 2 scenarios as well. So if you move your truck up and get out of your truck, you're getting Overwatched. If you come in from the table ledge and you get out of your truck, you're getting Overwatched. If you just come in from the table ledge or deep strike as a whole with your storm boys or your death copters, you can be Overwatched. That all falls under the category of normal movement. Okay, and here is I have 2 pictures on screen. The picture on your left where my knobs and my war boss are staged behind the building. They're going to attempt to charge from that distance. That is approximately a 6-inch charge. Not ideal, but in this case, if I start the charge, I'm not in line of sight, and when I end the charge, the unit is now in combat. Therefore, they cannot activate Overwatch for that reason. But in the second picture on your right, where I have moved closer to make an assured charge because I'm only about 2-3 inches away at this point, I can be Overwatched as soon as I start that charge. Okay, so this kind of placement really does play a big difference here, especially when you do consider what we just talked about with Here We Go. Here We Go makes up for this little mild difference of distance as well. Okay, so stack Here We Go. When you're thinking about Here We Go, understand that you might be trying to get around Overwatch 2. Overwatch is very powerful. Orcs have really good overwatching unit when it comes to flash kits. Other than that, though, and mind you, flash kits can pop lethal. People have questioned this on Overwatch, so use that too. But all in all, be aware of it defensively as an orc player. Know that it's probably coming to you, and especially on units like Beast Snagga Boys that have bad armor saves and can be really, really subjective to damage from flamers, for example. Right?
Yeah, losing a few models can change the impact and outcome of what you're trying to do with that turn.
Absolutely. That's one of those marks that we talk about controlled rate of attrition. Now we move to tank shock.
In your charge phase, 1 vehicle unit from your army until the end of the phase. After your unit ends a charge move, select 1 enemy unit within engagement range of it. Then select 1 melee weapon your unit is equipped with. Roll a number of d6 equal to that weapon's strength. And if that strength characteristic is greater than that enemy's toughness characteristic, roll 2 additional d6. And for every 5 up, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound to a maximum of 6.
Beautiful. So, for example, an orc truck wrecking ball is strength 10 with 1 attack. Let's say you're punching a space marine with the tank shock, right? Running with the wrecking ball, just trying to run him over. You now get to roll 12 dice into that lower toughness unit. So good for finishing off high armor save units. Is good for running over lone ops or very weak, maybe T3 units that have crappy amount of wounds and they're pretty weak. So you're definitely getting those additional dice on those rolls. I really, really like to use this sometimes when people throw assassins near my trucks and I don't really want to backtrack for the assassins necessarily. I'll go tank shock them with the truck and then just hopefully punch him out. And a lot of the time you might just kill him and roll 4 wounds. So it's not like an assured strat, but when it happens, the enemy player is just taken for a loop. Did your transport just kill me? You know, because there's a Rhino only has strength 6. So surprise enemy skirmish units. Let's say you're getting to a fight and you know that your spiker unit with a knob isn't really that good at fighting, but you're following them up with the truck. Go ahead and maybe tank shock that, or other strats we'll talk about, and diminish that unit a little bit before your knobs get in there and hurt it. Especially if you know that you're not going to fight there first, you might want to just weaken that unit so that can't clap you back in a reliable manner. Really good against high values armor saves. Mortals are great whenever you can get them, and so many different orc units have great strength values. Let's say Gorkanaut runs in and does tank shot. Enjoy.
Right, and that can be in some situations enough to swing the OC into your favor as well. Or like you mentioned, targeting a lone op assassin, that's a scoring unit for your opponent. So anytime you can use these stratagems to swing points in your favor, it's always a positive. All right, now rapid ingress. End of the movement phase, 1 unit from your army that is in reserves.
End of your opponent's movement phase, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. End of your opponent's movement phase. Your unit can arrive on the battlefield as if it was your reinforcement steps of your movement phase, and every model in that unit that has a deep strike ability, you can set that unit up as described in deep strike ability. You cannot use the stratagem to enable a unit to arrive on the battlefield during battle round. It would normally not be able to. So round 1.
Yeah. So reserves, for example, it can't come in turn 1. So this can't circumnavigate that. But rapid ingress, this is a huge threat awareness level, right? If you're a new player and you're just not paying attention to this because so many things are going on in the battlefield, you can straight up lose the game because someone rapid ingressed on you and you weren't prepared for it. So always consider and ask what has deep strike and what has strategic reserves, because that drastically changes where they can come in for rapid ingress. So go ahead and ask. You're seeing this constantly being told. Ask your enemy so that you can do this, right? Next, redeploy units can take advantage of this too. If custodian terminators get picked up and their turn, and then your turn begins, they can rapid ingress those guys back down. Boom, I got you, right? Very, very good. You don't want to take that for granted. Be aware that that's going to be happening. If people are pulling stuff off the table, they can almost immediately start to put them back on the table utilizing the strat, right? Orc units that can maximize or enjoy coming in from strategic reserves or deep strike are Gorkanaut/Morkanaut, Grots, Storm Boys, and then a truck full of flash skits. Like we spoke about earlier, you can come in from the side of the table, disembark, and then shoot on your turn. But you might want to actually, let's say you come in and be hidden instead, right? Oh, I'm just going to come in on my turn. That way your truck can move up and then your guys can get out. That might be your more optimized way to play it. But just know, hey, I can use that on that. It's a strategic reserve. It's okay. Not just my deep striking units. Because really, we only have Storm Boys and Def Coptas. And then units embarked in the transport can disembark and shoot, but they cannot charge. So I just wanted to stress that for your enemies and for you as orc players. Epic challenge.
All right. In the fight phase, when a character unit from your army that is within engagement range of 1 or more attached units is selected to fight, 1 character model in your unit until the end of the phase, all melee attacks by that model have the precision ability.
Yeah. So war bosses love this on the wall, right? Go ahead and murk them. Now, for these pictures, what I'm trying to show here is that this requires true line of sight. You must actually see the model that you are epic challenging. On the picture on the top left, Mazrog cannot see the prime. Therefore, I cannot epic challenge the prime. But if the Tyranid player made the mistake and decided, I want to try to fight with Maz, therefore I want to be closer and up in the front, maybe he has a gun and he's not, maybe he's not a Tyranid prime, maybe he's just a different character that's trying to shoot. Now that Maz can physically see him, true line of sight, he can use epic challenge and crump that git. This is very good when you're going into Necrons, maybe Eldar, or in a funny chance, for some reason, you might want to do it to a guard player if he messed up. Okay, so epic challenge is great into certain armies where they have very good support characters that are soft as baby butt. You know what I'm saying? So just keep it in mind. It's not very often going to come up, but when it does come up, you can just ruin an enemy's game plan. So, and this also relies. This also applies to you as an orc player too. If you're a knob, if you don't want your knob to get killed, put him behind the wall prior to piling in and actually fighting. If the enemy fights first, let's say he's a custodian blade champion, and you charge, but you didn't let your war boss get into be seen because he's still behind the building. When that custodian character champion fights, he can't just kill your character necessarily like that. Okay, that means when you start to fight and you move in, you pile in, then you can start getting those fights in. So don't let your own characters get killed by not understanding epic challenge either, right? I know the custodian character can precision as well, but just keep in mind champion, but other custodian characters want to do this too. So do not give away your characters to epic challenges either as the orc player, because we do have some soft characters. Just keeping it real.
I believe the stipulation of true line of sight, you'll probably find under the precision ability definition.
Yes. Then with here, I put both of these at once. We have the grenade strat and we have the counter offensive strat, right? There's a lot of different channels and stuff that have gone over this, but I still want to talk about it. So orcs are able to, anybody really, are able to fall back and throw grenades because the wording of grenade. So David?
All right. In your shooting phase, one grenades unit, which is a keyword you'll find on the data sheet, from your army that is not within engagement range of any enemy units that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Select one enemy unit that is not within engagement range of any units from your army that is within 8 inches and visible to your grenades unit. Then you roll 6d6, and for every 4 up, the unit suffers 1 mortal wound.
Yep. And by the wording of this, when it says target, it just says has not been selected to shoot this phase. It doesn't say you're eligible to shoot. That's why you can fall back and still throw a grenade. Many orc units have grenades. Your buggies have grenades. Your storm boys have grenades. Your bikers have grenades. Your squig hog boys have grenades. That means you can combine this with a bomb squig, and then you can throw a grenade at someone. So let's say you have a pretty durable unit, maybe they have 16 wounds, and you have a diminished Squig Hog Boy unit because you took some damage in Overwatch and you're making your way across the table. You're not sure if you're going to get this off. Throw the bomb squig in them. Hey, maybe you didn't do all the damage you wanted, or it did decent damage. I'm going to also throw a grenade into you, and then I'm going to charge you. So this is how you kind of stack those mortal wounds on the people, and they will not see it coming, especially these high armor saves units and armies, right? And I really appreciate the grenade strat on what I would call trash bash lists, right? It's where you bring a bunch of trash. Let's say you bring 5 trucks, 5 units of normal basic boys, 1 or 2 war bosses, a bunch of storm boys and bikers. That was kind of an archetype earlier in the edition. People were constantly using grenade strat and tank shock because that was really the only way to get reliable damage into durable units that don't have feel no pains. Then you have counter offensive. This used to be everyone's favorite strat last edition when you're a melee army. Yet for orcs, it's kind of less commonly used. And the reason that is because a lot of the time, our main unit that's delivering the damage is already being fought and focused on first. So you're just going to pop your strat on that one unit to fight in death. Okay, but just still understand that the strat exists because other armies will definitely be using it against you on your WAAAGH turn, knowing that you're going to be flying in there with multiple units to do damage. Okay, so priority targets go first because you have to understand the counter offenses can and will happen, and this does not bypass the fight first abilities. Okay, so you can't say counter offensive you because you fight first. No, he still gets to fight first. Okay, so just wanted to go over that real quick. Then here we have 2 less commonly used strats from the orcs, but I still want to talk about them because they're a bit interesting in some good and bad ways.
Yeah, this one's a sleeper pick. Go to ground. When you're in your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, 1 infantry unit from your army that was selected as a target. Until the end of the phase, all models in your unit have a 6-up invulnerable save and the benefits of cover.
It's funny how many very skilled players I speak to about this strat, and they go, I want a 6-up invul on my custodes, or whatever it may be, right? Or my Space Marines, or my boys. No, it's about the fact that you get the benefit of cover on a 2-up armor save unit, let's say on Meganobs, but not only that, this can actually hurt us as orc players because a lot of us are using flash kits or -1 AP shooting. Something like a custodian unit can now go to ground even if they're standing in the middle of the table and still be taking a 2-up armor save. Okay, so this is why I actually brought this to mind, because there are 2-up armor save armies that we're going to be going into, and I do recommend flash kits a lot, and a lot of other people do. But be wary that if he's a cunning git, he's going to go to ground with this 2-up armor save and just ruin all that damage from your flash kits. But as an orc player yourself, know that your Meganobs are the best unit, in my opinion, to enjoy this strat as well, or maybe even a big brick of boys that you just decide are going to stand in the middle of the objective, and you know the enemy doesn't have too much AP on their shooting, or maybe they do have AP on their shooting, but you're not on the wall anymore, and you want to have some kind of save to stack and stay alive. So keep it in mind in the back of your head. It's not very commonly used by us, but it can be used against us. The next one is heroic intervention.
All right. In your opponent's charge phase, just after an enemy unit ends a charge move, one unit from your army that is within 6 inches of that enemy unit and would be eligible to declare a charge. Your unit now declares a charge that targets that enemy unit, and you resolve that charge as if it was your charge phase. You can only select a vehicle unit from your army if it's a walker.
Note that even if your charge is successful, your unit does not receive any charge bonus this turn. That's a big deal. Okay. Now, really, guys, this is more can be used against us as orc players. So be aware of the strat that can happen. It's very dangerous when kind of different units are right next to each other. You know, let's say it's custodes again or world eaters, and you know they're kind of supporting each other. But when I like to use this strat is actually when I'm going against a possibly faster unit than my army than my own. And I will stage something like a Mazrog or a Beast Boss on Squigosaur near maybe Squigahog Boys or a truck. And I let them know, hey, I can heroic you, stop you from piling in fully and wrapping my truck or getting in the way of my truck. Or if you're trying to touch my Squighog Boys and not allow them to fight you, I can jump in with Mods and stop you from fighting them fully. Mods will take some of the damage. He will survive, and my Squighog Boys might have kind of a brutal and fall back in charge. Stuff like that. So it is harder to use. It is a more skillful thing to do. It is a more situational thing to do, but be aware of it in the back of your mind as an orc player, because having your own unit set up to dissuade or discourage enemies from trying to jump in and tag your units, or to and mitigating how many attacks they can get in when they pile in, makes a huge difference. But you have to be selective about which unit to use for it, because that unit can be targeted too. So if you're like, I'm gonna jump in with my Storm Boys, they're like, what the? And they just smack the Storm Boys out of the way, right?
Get out of my way.
Yeah, because they don't have the charge bonus, so they're not fighting first. That means your Beast Boss on Squigosaur and your Maz are gonna sit there, kind of look at them, and then they're gonna get punched in the head, and they're like, oh, you're there too, and then they're gonna eat them, right? But if your other units are there, they're gonna get clapped, and the enemy might end up getting a double trade. You won't like that. So be aware. It's both of these are situationally kind of cool, kind of good, but these can actually be used against you more often than not. So just know about it, know how it works, and how the enemy might use it. Now, my favorite grot strat,
Insane Bravery, is in the battle shock test of your step of your command phase. Just before you take a battle shock test, a unit from your army that must take a battle shock test, your unit automatically passes that test. You cannot use the stratagem more than once per battle.
Yes, guys, you cannot use it once per battle. It was changed before you could roll and then see the result and then use the strat. Now you have to use it preemptively, premeditatively before you even roll the dice. This strat is almost always used for grots in most of my games. Not because grots are super valuable. It's usually because enemy don't put enough firepower into the grots to just one-shot them. They'll just like patter some shots over there. Or they'll just not understand that the knobs in the runt herders in the unit, the runt herder might take some armor saves, might actually survive some 0 AP shots. And then 1 or 2 grots survive, still standing on the objective. And then you go, oh, my turn. You popped. Now I'm good. We're good. And now you're still winning the game, still playing the primary. So how you pull models and everything does matter greatly. But a lot of the time in here, guys, this is how you win games as an orc player, because you're really not that tough. You're really not that durable. You just hope the enemy kind of runs out of volume of attacks, doesn't allocate resources correctly, doesn't kill all the boys, doesn't kill the beast snagger boys because there's a paintball, doesn't kill all the grots, doesn't kill all the bikers, doesn't kill the storm boys, all these different situations where you can go, bam, insane bravery. Now I actually scored primary, or I can use this diminished unit to go score secondaries, because if a unit's battle shocked, it can't score certain secondaries either. So keep that in mind. Very, very useful. But again, a common strat that is very known. So with that being said, that is how you maximize orc strats. Now, from here, we're going to look at some of your chats, see what you got to say, give some feedback. If I missed anything in the comments, let me know. Yell at me, disagree with me, get stuck in, because you just a lad. All right, so what's going on here, boys? And we got
JQ.
Let's
with the
go.
wall. Wicked Joe. We Storm Boys.
Let's go.
Now.
We got our first Storm Boys. Everybody knows Storm Boys are the most energetic boys that there are when y'all new, but it looks like you guys are on your way to actually being Death Dreads too. Then we got Snazzy Gazzy. Whoa, Snazzy Gazzy, let's go. Daggers made it. Let's go. Then we had, let me see what you guys got going in. Bring into RTT. That's what's up, dude. Yes, Def Tread in 6 months. Yeah, man. I can't wait to see some Def Treads in chat. I was actually the most excited. This is hilarious how you guys got freaked out about my bandana. It was sitting right there, and I just kind of forgot to put it on. Thanks for letting me know my forehead's repulsive, Aaron. Thank you. God damn. All right. So we have, thanks, you guys. I appreciate it. If any of you get the like button, thank you for Ecobot again. Aaron again. Zach Shuck. We really appreciate you, boys. Then we have a question.
How does Artist Nails interact with abilities like wounds on X, like anti-infantry, etc.?
Sadly, it doesn't. They just kind of still get their ability.
So that's another good question to ask before you try to pop this.
Yes, and I'm glad you asked that question because that's an example of a question you ask. So awesome. Thank you. And yeah, you got a gifted membership. Let's go. That's a crazy looking. What the heck? That's awesome. All right. Can you tank shock more than once a turn? No, not unless, let's say, like, I think there's like Knight Lancer says it has it on his data sheet. In that sense, it can do it, and then a different knight can do it.
Right. There are other armies that have abilities that can do it a second time, like Death Guard.
Did they tank shock twice or throw grenades twice?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, they throw grenades. But yeah, pretty much that's it. Situationally, enemies can do it, but no, as a rule, no, you can't use strats twice in a single phase or turn. Oh, I didn't notice the curtain in the background upgraded with the war logo. Yeah, one of our gets in Discord showed it to me. He said, we'll send it to you. That's very nice of him. He didn't because I didn't want him to because it was just on Amazon for like $15. So you can get it too. Even though I appreciate you with the offer and everything, we want to upgrade with all the support we've been getting. We actually upgraded our monitors. So now we have 2 monitors. Yes. One of the monitors is actually a big old gaming monitor so I can game with y'all and Total War, Helldivers, Space Marine, any Ork games that come out. I'm super excited. So let me know about that in the Discord. But we've been upgrading, lads. That's what we're doing with all the support we're getting. Yeah, with the big upgrade. That's what I'm talking about.
Rapid Ingress has helped me in tourneys to pre-maneuver my Bernabama for effective bombing runs.
Hey, that's what's up, dude. Not only
that's a cunning get.
And you know what? The burner bomber actually takes away the benefit of cover.
Yeah.
So that's awesome that you actually use that because no one really does. I made it to the wall in time. There you are, Mark Bruce. Let's go. I'm happy to see a couple of you lads that I've been around for a long time, like Dawzacious, Zach Struck, Mark Bruce, Jay Hune, Ecop.
So having that burner bomber too would be a good way to mitigate go to ground if you have flash kits on your list as well.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, if you go over them, then they don't get the benefit of it. So yeah, it would because they have to declare it, so I have to make sure that works. But yeah, Pregency, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a David.
It was all idea, actually.
But the monitor was definitely a David touch. You know what I'm saying? What's up? 20 boys. You're gonna deep strike them in with rapid ingress, and then you're gonna go to ground. No, I'm just kidding. All right. What's up? What up? I don't know. You're new. What's up, gamer? Let's go. You a gamer? Let me know because we got a gaming channel on our Discord. That way we can all game up together or talk to each other. Just so you know, I do pop in and talk to you guys. I'm in the voice chat. I'm there all the time. I'm very active on the Discord because it's about the community around here more than anything. And then the next thing is we have a WAAAGH fitness channel too. So we like to talk about that too. Show us what kind of orc boy you is or you choose to become. So really appreciate you guys. That's awesome. And I'm glad. Good strategy video. I need this. I'm very happy to do that. We're going to be doing more strategy videos as I get better at my presentations, making these presentations, speaking, all that stuff. Strategy videos will come more into play, and I have a bunch of good ideas. The next strategy video I want to go into is Mandos. Are we using Mandos? Are Mandos the next stage in the meta? Are they a must or crust? All right, are they? So
I like crust.
I guess crusty then. I don't know. So I like crust. Not first though. You know what I'm saying? It's like leftover. But yeah, we're gonna be doing the Mandos video next. I have all these different video ideas of tactics and great things we want to do, especially because the codex is ramping up. So I want to get these tactic videos out. That way they're kind of like my first reps, our first drafts. And, if that can improve, you guys let me know how I can improve in them in the comments. And then when the actual codex drops, I should be giving very, very adequate, very, very detailed ideas and presentations and answering a bunch of different questions that is all about the WAAAGH, all about the different combinations, all about the different unit types. There's no dumb questions. There is only the rise of the green tide. That's what I'm talking about, boys.
Were you gonna do a community stream next week? Or?
Oh yeah, and next week we should do a community stream because I'm going to be going to a GT, and before the GTs, I usually like to just do a little chill community stream or something. That way, I'm a little light on my load for preparation. So wish me luck, or if I see you there, some of you gets, I'm sure I might see you there. Talk to me. Roll dice on in my dice box is always fun. Show me your models. I'll take pictures of them in person. We can chat, all those stuff. So it's very fun.
And which event are you going to?
The Milwaukee GT. Let's
there you go. So if you're nearby.
go.
Did the codex get pushed back? Crew getting a lot of love in the previews.
I don't know. I don't know that for sure. It just kind of looks like that. What I would say, if you're new to 40k, just know GW timelines are fickle like the warp, right? You know how when you enter the warp, you can come out in the past or in the future or in another universe, right? That's pretty much how GW's timeline works. Okay, they're like, we're gonna do something in like 3 weeks, guys, and then like 3 months later, they just stop talking to you, and you're like, am I getting a codex? That's GW. So it's no disrespect to them. They have a lot going on. Just don't get too excited. Enjoy our rules. Play it how you are, and just know that the Ork tribe, the WAAAGH tribe, is still going to be in the codex anyway. So the better you get now is still going to apply to that. But good question though. I swear by Mandos, they normally draw so much attention. It's very true. So a lot of people go, hey man, what are you going to do with your Mandos? Do you like them? I'm just going to say it straight up. Sometimes I start the game, hey, 18, 65 points. Sorry, boys, that's what I'm playing with. Because I just take the Mandos and put them right 9 inches away and just make a big line across the table and say, here we go. Forget all your infiltrators. Forget all your scouts. If I go first, I'm tagging you. I'm standing an inch away from you. I'm destroying your movement phase now, and I'm just taking over the whole middle of the table. Or I use it to mitigate strategic reserve armies that like to come in from the table ledges, and I just go, here we go. I'm already taking this side of the table. You're not coming in from here. Forget your angle of fire. I've taken position, because movement wins games, board control wins games, and Orks are one of those armies that really, really requires you to understand controlling space and pressure and staging without throwing your army away and throwing your units away. So the fact that you can use Mandos to soak up all the small arms fire, do 2 things at once, and possibly survive and then score mission secondaries is a big deal. So we'll get more into that. It'll be a great topic, and I swear we're both onto something, Mark Bruce.
Yeah, dude, Mandos are so strong. The fact that they can ignore Overwatch, meaning if you get that first turn, you literally move up an inch in front of your enemy and take all that movement away from them first turn.
Yeah, I just make a big dumb line. I'm like, all right, there you go. Enjoy. So yeah. Well, with that being said, there's only one thing to keep in mind is don't cross our wall, because we knock your teeth out. Whoa!